The massive ship appeared in Earth's sky without warning. It was dark and huge, bigger than any city humans had ever built. The ship hung there like a black moon, blocking out the sun over New York. People on the streets stopped and pointed at the sky. Cars crashed as drivers forgot to watch the road. News reporters spoke fast into their cameras, trying to explain what everyone could see but nobody could understand. 3 days later, the aliens came down to Earth. They did not use ships or flying machines. They just appeared in the United Nations building like magic. The security guards could not stop them because they came through the walls like ghosts. 4 strange beings stood in the main meeting room where all the world leaders had gathered in emergency session. The first alien was tall and made of what looked like living glass. Its body was clear and sparkled with inner light. It had 4 arms and no face that humans could see. Just bright spots where eyes might be. When it moved, it made soft ringing sounds like wind chimes. This was Zethkar, and it seemed to be their leader. The second alien looked like a giant snake, but it floated in the air without touching the ground. Its scales were deep purple and changed color in the light. When it spoke, its voice was like a whisper that filled the whole room. This creature called itself Voshai, and its yellow eyes never blinked as it watched the humans. The third alien was the strangest of all. It looked like a huge jellyfish floating in the air, with long tentacles that moved like water. Its body was see-through and glowed with soft blue light. Patterns of color moved across its skin like thoughts made visible. This being was called Quel Neth, and it never made a sound except for the gentle humming that came from its body. The fourth alien was covered in armor that looked like it was part of its body. It was shaped like a giant bug, with 6 legs and arms that ended in sharp claws. Its armor was black and shiny, and it clicked when it moved. Red lights glowed where its eyes should be. This was Crixtor, and it looked like it was built for war. Secretary General Maria Santos sat at the big table with all the other world leaders. She was a small woman with gray hair, but her eyes were sharp and brave. Next to her sat General Alex Carter, a big man with scars on his face from old battles. On her other side was Dr. Lisa Barnes, a scientist who studied space and alien life. All 3 of them tried to look calm, but their hearts were beating fast. Zethkar stepped forward, and a machine voice came from somewhere inside its crystal body. The voice was cold and had no feeling in it, like a computer trying to sound human. All the people in the room listened as the alien began to speak. "We are representatives of the Galactic Council," the machine voice said. "For thousands of years we have watched your species grow and learn. You have built machines that can fly between stars. You have split the atom and touched the edges of space. This means you are ready to join the galactic community. But first you must pay the price that all species pay." Maria Santos raised her hand like a student in school. "What price?" she asked. Her voice was steady, but everyone could hear the worry underneath. The crystal alien turned its bright spots toward her, and the cold voice continued. "Every species that joins the galactic community must pay tribute to the Council. This tribute keeps peace in the galaxy and protects weak worlds from strong ones. It is the way things have always been, and it is the way things will always be. You humans will give us 40% of everything your planet makes. Your metals, your energy, your food, everything. You will also give us 20% of your people to work in our colonies on other worlds." The room became very quiet. Maria could hear her own breathing. 40% of everything meant almost half of all the oil, all the gold, all the food that Earth could make. 20% of all people meant 2 billion humans would become slaves on alien worlds. Children would be taken from their parents. Families would be broken apart forever. President John Mitchell of America stood up so fast his chair fell over. His face was red with anger. "You want to steal half our world and enslave 2 billion people," he shouted. The crystal alien did not seem bothered by his anger. "It is not stealing," the machine voice said calmly. "It is tribute. It is the natural order of the galaxy. The strong rule and the weak serve. This is how we have brought peace to 1,000 worlds." Dr. Barnes leaned forward and asked, "What happens if we say no?" The snake alien Voshai moved closer to the table. Its voice was like a whisper that came from everywhere at once. "Then your species will be marked as enemies of galactic peace," Voshai said. "Your world will be destroyed, and your people will be wiped out completely. We have done this to 47 worlds that refuse to pay tribute. None of them exist anymore." The armored alien Crixtor clicked its claws on the table. The sound was sharp and scary. 47 worlds, it said in a voice like grinding metal. Billions of lives ended because they would not see reason. Do not make the same mistake. Maria Santos looked around the room at all the world leaders. She saw fear in their eyes, but also anger and determination. These were people who had led their countries through wars and disasters. They had seen the worst that humans could do to each other, but they had also seen the best. How long do we have to decide? Maria asked. The crystal alien's bright spots grew brighter. 72 of your hours, Zethkar said. 3 of your days. When we return, you will give us your answer. Choose to join the galactic community and live under our protection, or choose destruction and die as enemies of peace. The 4 aliens began to glow with strange light. Before anyone could speak again, they faded away like ghosts, leaving only the smell of ozone and the memory of their terrible words. The room stayed quiet for a long time after they were gone. Maria Santos looked up at the ceiling where the aliens had vanished. 3 days to decide the fate of all humanity. 3 days to choose between slavery and death. She thought about her children at home, about all the children in the world who did not know that their future had just been decided by 4 monsters from the stars. General Carter put his hand on her shoulder. We need to call an emergency session, he said quietly. Every leader, every scientist, every military expert we have. Maria nodded, but she was already thinking about something else. She was thinking about the word no, and how powerful it could be when the right person said it at the right time. The emergency meeting had been going on for 36 hours without stopping. World leaders sat around the big table in the United Nations building, their eyes red from lack of sleep and too much coffee. The air in the room was thick and stuffy. Everyone was talking at once, their voices getting louder and angrier as time passed. President John Mitchell slammed his fist on the table so hard that coffee cups jumped. We cannot give in to these alien bullies, he shouted. America has never bowed down to tyrants, and we will not start now. His face was red with anger, and his hands shook as he spoke. Prime Minister Elena Novak from Europe shook her head sadly. She was a smart woman who had led her countries through many hard times. John, what choice do we have? She asked. These aliens have weapons that make our best missiles look like toys. Their ship could destroy every city on Earth without even landing. Chancellor Wei Chen from Asia was very old and had seen many wars in his long life. He spoke slowly and carefully. Maybe we can talk to them, he said. Make them take less tribute. Ask for more time to give them what they want. Sometimes you have to bend so you do not break. President Mitchell stood up so fast his chair fell backward. Bend, he yelled. They want to make slaves of 2 billion people. They want to steal half of everything we own. That is not bending. That is surrender. Dr. Lisa Barnes had been quiet for hours, reading numbers and charts on her computer. Now she stood up and cleared her throat. Everyone please listen, she said. I have been studying everything we learned about these aliens. Their technology is very advanced, but I found something strange. The room became quiet as all the leaders turned to look at her. Dr. Barnes was known for being very smart and very careful with facts. If she had found something important, they needed to hear it. Their ship is using almost all its power just to stay in the air, Dr. Barnes said. Our satellites show that their energy systems are working at maximum capacity. If they really control a whole galaxy, why would they need such an old, overworked ship? And their weapons demonstration was impressive, but it was very small. They only destroyed 1 empty building. General Alex Carter nodded his head. He had been thinking the same thing. Our space tracking systems have been watching their ship since it arrived, he said. We see no other alien ships anywhere in our solar system. If they have a great galactic empire, where is their fleet? Where are their backup ships? President Amara Okafor from Africa was a wise woman who always asked good questions. She stood up slowly and looked around the room. Has anyone thought that maybe they are lying? She asked. They say they destroyed 47 worlds, but what if they only tell us about the ones they won against? What if some worlds fought back and won? Secretary General Maria Santos felt something spark in her chest. It was hope, small but growing stronger. Dr. Barnes, she said, what did you mean about their ship working too hard? Dr. Barnes pulled up charts on the big screen. Look at these energy readings, she said. Their ship is using 96% of its power for basic functions like life support and staying in orbit. A real warship from a galactic empire would be much more efficient. This ship looks more like an old cargo vessel that has been pushed beyond its limits. Admiral Kate Foster, who commanded Earth's small space fleet, stepped forward. There is something else, she said. The amounts they demanded as tribute, 40% of our resources and 20% of our people. I ran the numbers. That is exactly what you would need to repair a badly damaged ship and provide life support for 4 beings on a long journey through space. The pieces were starting to fit together like a puzzle. Prime Minister Novak looked excited for the first time in days. "You think they are not really from a galactic council?" she asked. "Maybe they are refugees," said Chancellor Chen. "Maybe their own worlds were destroyed and they are looking for resources to survive. Or pirates," added General Carter. 4 beings in a damaged ship, trying to trick primitive species into giving them what they need. Maria Santos stood up and walked to the big window that looked out over New York City. The alien ship hung in the sky like a dark cloud, but now it did not look as scary as before. Now it looked lonely and desperate. "Even if we are right," said President Mitchell, "they still have weapons that can destroy us. Even a damaged ship from space is more powerful than anything we have." "But maybe they are bluffing about how much they can destroy," said Dr. Barnes. "If their ship is already working at maximum power, they might not have enough energy left for a real attack. They might be hoping to scare us into giving up without a fight." The debate went on for many more hours. Some leaders wanted to surrender and hope the aliens would be merciful. Others wanted to attack first before the aliens could hurt them. But slowly, more and more leaders began to agree with Maria Santos and her advisors. Humanity had always been stubborn. From the caves where early humans hid from giant animals, to the ships that crossed dangerous oceans, to the rockets that carried people to the moon, humans had survived by refusing to give up. They had faced ice ages and plagues and wars, and they had always found a way to keep going. President Okafor stood up again and spoke in her calm, strong voice. "I think we are forgetting who we are," she said. "We are humans. We do not bow down to bullies no matter how big they are or where they come from. Our ancestors fought with sticks and stones against creatures with fangs and claws. Are we going to be less brave than they were?" Prime Minister Novak nodded slowly. "If we are wrong and they really can destroy us, at least we will die as free people," she said. "If we surrender, we will live as slaves and our children will never know what freedom means." When the final vote was taken, every single leader raised their hand in agreement. Earth would not surrender to the alien demands. They would stand together and face whatever came next, but their answer would not be what the aliens expected. Maria Santos looked around the room at all the tired, worried, but determined faces. Tomorrow the aliens would return for their answer. Tomorrow humanity would speak with one voice, and that voice would say the one word that had always defined the human spirit in the face of impossible odds. The same room where the aliens had first appeared was now ready for their return. Television cameras from every country pointed at the center of the room. Soldiers stood at every door, though everyone knew their guns would be useless against alien technology. Scientists held scanning devices to record everything that happened. Maria Santos stood behind the podium with a single piece of paper in her hands. The paper had only one word written on it, but that word would change everything. She had practiced saying it 100 times, but her heart still beat fast as she waited. At exactly the time they had promised, the air in the center of the room began to shimmer like heat rising from hot pavement. The 4 aliens appeared slowly, like ghosts becoming solid. Zethkar stood in front as before, his crystal body catching the light. Behind him, Voshai floated with his purple scales gleaming. Quelleneth pulsed with blue light, and Krixtor clicked his claws on the floor. The crystal alien stepped forward, and his cold machine voice filled the room. "Humans," he said, 72 hours have passed as we agreed. The Galactic Council is waiting for your decision. Will you pay tribute and join the galactic community, or will you choose destruction and die as enemies of peace?" Maria looked straight at Zethkar, trying to see into those bright spots that might be his eyes. Behind her, she could feel the presence of every world leader, every general, every scientist who had worked for 3 days to reach this moment. The weight of 8 billion human lives rested on her shoulders. "Ambassador Zethkar," Maria began, her voice calm and steady. "The people of Earth have spent 3 days discussing your proposal. We have looked at it from every angle. We have considered all the risks and all the benefits. We have thought about our children and our future. We have made our choice." The aliens waited. Zethkar's crystal body seemed to brighten as he expected to hear words of surrender. Voshai coiled his snake body in satisfaction. Quelleneth pulsed faster with anticipation. Krixtor's red eyes glowed brighter as he prepared to receive tribute arrangements. Maria took a deep breath and looked down at the paper in her hands. She did not really need to read it. The word was burned into her memory and into the hearts of every human on Earth. She looked back up at the alien who claimed to speak for a galactic council. "No," she said. The word dropped into the silence like a stone into still water. For several seconds, nothing happened. The aliens stood frozen as if their advanced brains could not process what they had just heard. The humans in the room held their breath, waiting to see what would happen next. Sethkar was the first to speak. His machine voice sounded confused and uncertain. "Did you say no?" he asked. "No," Maria repeated, and this time she smiled slightly. "No tribute. No slavery. No theft of our resources. No surrender to your threats." Just no. Voshai began to move in agitated circles, his purple scales rippling with anger. "You cannot simply refuse the Council's authority," he hissed. "Every species must pay tribute. It is the law of the galaxy. It is the natural order." General Carter stepped forward, his military uniform neat and his bearing confident. "Ambassador, we have been studying your ship and your technology for 3 days. We are not impressed by what we found." Dr. Barnes activated a holographic display that showed detailed scans of the alien ship. "Your vessel is operating at maximum capacity just to stay in orbit," she said. "Your weapons have clear energy limitations. Your ship is old and overworked. And most important of all, you are alone. No fleet, no backup ships, no galactic empire." Quelleneth's jellyfish body pulsed rapidly with what looked like panic. Bright colors flashed across his transparent skin like warning signals. "You scanned our ship," he said in a voice like wind through water. "How dare you violate our privacy?" "We are humans," Maria said simply. "We study everything. We question everything. We take nothing on faith, especially when someone threatens to kill us all. Right now we are questioning whether you really represent any galactic council, or if you're just 4 desperate beings in a broken ship trying to trick us into giving you what you need to survive." The silence that followed was heavy and uncomfortable. The 4 aliens looked at each other with expressions that the humans could not read. Lights flashed between them in patterns that might have been a form of communication. Admiral Foster stood up from her place at the military table. "We have been monitoring deep space since you arrived," she said. "Our telescopes and satellites have scanned in every direction. There are no other ships anywhere in our solar system. If you command a galactic empire, where is your fleet?" President Mitchell crossed his arms and glared at the aliens. "We think you are con artists," he said bluntly. "Space pirates trying to steal from a primitive world. Well, you picked the wrong species to mess with." Krixtor's armored body clicked and rattled with what seemed like rage. "You will regret this defiance, humans," he said in his grinding metal voice. "The Council's fleet will come and reduce your world to burning ash. Your cities will be destroyed and your people will be scattered like dust in the wind." Maria's smile grew wider and more confident. "We will be waiting," she said. "And when this imaginary fleet of yours does not show up, maybe we can have a real conversation about what you actually want and what we might be willing to help you with." The 4 aliens looked at each other again, their alien features showing what could only be confusion and growing panic. They had clearly never met a species that responded to their threats with such calm certainty. Dr. Barnes pulled up more data on her display. "The energy signature of your ship suggests it has been traveling for a very long time," she said. "Your life support systems are old and wearing out. The resources you demanded as tribute match exactly what you would need for major repairs and extended space travel." "You are not conquerors," said Chancellor Chen, speaking for the first time. "You are refugees. You are lost and desperate and far from home, and instead of asking for help, you tried to frighten us into slavery." The aliens began to fade away, their forms becoming translucent as they prepared to return to their ship. But before they disappeared completely, Sethkar spoke one last time. His voice was different now, quieter and less certain. "You do not understand," he said. "We will return with proof of our power." The humans watched as the 4 figures vanished completely, leaving only empty air and the faint smell of ozone. Maria Santos looked around the room at all the faces staring at her. Some looked worried, some looked proud, and some looked amazed at what had just happened. She folded the paper with the single word written on it and put it in her pocket. "That went better than expected," she said. And for the first time in 3 days, someone in the room laughed. 5 days passed and nothing happened. The alien ship still hung in Earth's sky like a dark cloud, but it made no threatening moves. It did not fire weapons or send more messages. Earth's military stayed ready for an attack that never came. Scientists kept their instruments pointed at the ship, watching and waiting. On the sixth day, something strange happened. The alien ship sent a communication request to the United Nations. But this time the message was different. Instead of demanding an immediate meeting, it asked politely for permission to speak. Instead of threats, it contained what sounded almost like an apology. Maria Santos sat in the same meeting room where everything had started. This time, only her closest advisors were with her. General Carter, Dr. Barnes, and a few other trusted leaders waited to see what the aliens really wanted to say. When the alien appeared, it was only Zethkar, the crystal being materialized alone in the center of the room, and everything about him seemed different. His crystal body looked dimmer, less bright than before. His movements were slower and more uncertain. The confident authority was gone, replaced by something that looked almost like shame. Secretary General Santos, Zethkar said, and his machine voice was quieter and more hesitant than before. I request permission to speak honestly with you. No more lies, no more threats, no more pretending to be something we are not. Maria leaned back in her chair and studied the alien carefully. She had been expecting this moment ever since they had called the alien's bluff. We are listening, Ambassador, she said, though I suspect that title is not quite accurate. You are correct, Zethkar said, and his crystal form seemed to shrink slightly. We are not ambassadors. There is no Galactic Council. There is no great empire that spans the stars. There are no fleets of warships waiting to destroy worlds that refuse to pay tribute. Then who are you? Asked Dr. Barnes, leaning forward with scientific curiosity overcoming her caution. We are the last, Zethkar said sadly. My 3 companions and I are the final survivors of 4 different worlds. Our planets were not destroyed by any council or empire. They were destroyed by a cosmic disaster that swept through our part of the galaxy like a wave of death. The room became very quiet as everyone absorbed this revelation. General Carter was the first to speak. The 47 worlds you claim to have destroyed, he said slowly, were our homes, Zethkar finished, along with billions of our people. Vasahai's world was a beautiful place of floating cities. Quellaneth's people lived in vast underwater kingdoms. Crixtor's species built great hives that reached toward the stars. All gone now, reduced to dust and memories. Maria felt a sudden surge of sympathy for the alien. So you have been wandering through space for how long, she asked. Almost 200 years, Zethkar replied. Our ship was badly damaged when we escaped the disaster. We have been looking for resources to repair it and for a place where we might be able to settle and rebuild our lives. When we found Earth, we thought perhaps we could find what we needed here. But instead of asking for help, you tried to frighten us into giving you everything, said General Carter. Yes, Zethkar admitted. We have tried this approach on many worlds before yours. Some species believed our lies for a while, but always discovered the truth eventually. Others saw through our deception immediately, as you did. A few tried to destroy us when they learned we had been lying to them. But none of them just said no the way we did, Maria observed. No, Zethkar confirmed. Most species either panic with fear or attack with rage when we make our demands. You simply refused with such calm confidence that we did not know how to respond. It was like you were not afraid of us at all. Dr. Barnes accessed her computer and pulled up the data they had collected. Your ship's energy readings, the specific resources you demanded, even the number of people you wanted. It all matches exactly what you would need for major repairs and life support for 4 individuals on a long journey. You were not trying to conquer us, Maria realized. You were trying to save yourselves, yes, Zethkar whispered, and now that our deception has been exposed, we will continue our journey until our ship finally breaks down completely. We calculate that we have perhaps 3 or 4 months of life support remaining before our systems fail entirely. The weight of this revelation settled over everyone in the room. These were not evil conquerors or space pirates. They were refugees, survivors of an unimaginable catastrophe, desperately trying to stay alive in a hostile universe. Why did you not just ask for help in the first place? Asked General Carter. Many species might have been willing to assist refugees in need. Because we have learned that the galaxy is not a kind place, Zethkar replied. We tried asking for help in the early years after our worlds were destroyed. Some species ignored us completely. Others demanded payment we could not afford. A few tried to capture us to study our technology. We learned that taking what we needed was safer than asking for charity, but taking by force through lies and threats is still stealing, said Dr. Barnes. Yes, Zethkar agreed sadly. We know this. We have become what we once would have despised, desperate beings who prey on others because we see no other choice. We are not proud of what we have done. Maria looked at her advisors and saw her own thoughts reflected in their faces. These aliens had done wrong by trying to trick and threaten Earth, but they had done it out of desperation, not evil. They were not monsters. They were survivors who had lost everything and were trying to find a way to keep living. "What will you do now?" Maria asked. "We will leave your system and continue searching," Zethkar said. "Perhaps we will find another world where our deception might work long enough for us to get what we need. Or perhaps our ship will finally fail and our long journey will end." Maria stood up slowly and walked to the window where she could see the alien ship hanging in the sky. It looked different to her now, not threatening but sad and lonely. A lifeboat drifting in an ocean of stars with nowhere to go. She turned back to Zethkar with a decision already forming in her mind. "Ambassador," she said, using the title deliberately, "perhaps it is time we discussed a different kind of arrangement, one based on truth instead of lies and cooperation instead of threats." Zethkar's crystal form brightened slightly with what might have been hope. "What do you mean?" he asked. "I mean that maybe it is time for you to stop running and time for us to start helping," Maria said. "After all, that is what humans do best. We help each other survive impossible situations." 1 year later, the ship that had once threatened to destroy Earth now sat peacefully in the new orbital cooperation station. The dark hull that had once looked so menacing now gleamed with fresh repairs and new technology. Human and alien engineers worked side by side in the station's laboratories, sharing knowledge that benefited both species. Zethkar stood in the observation deck, watching Earth turn slowly below him. His crystal body was brighter now, fed by new energy sources that human scientists had helped him design. The hopeless desperation that had driven him to threaten humanity was gone, replaced by something he had not felt in 2 centuries: peace. Maria Santos joined him at the great window, carrying reports about their joint projects. "The agricultural programs are working better than we hoped," she said with a smile. "Voshi's hydroponic growing techniques have increased our food production by 40%. We can now feed everyone on Earth with room to spare. And Quelneth's water purification systems have solved the clean water crisis in dozens of countries," Zethkar added. "Krixtor's defensive technologies have also advanced your space exploration capabilities beyond anything you had before. Your species learns faster than any we have ever encountered." Dr. Barnes entered the observation deck, carrying her tablet computer filled with research data. "We have learned more about life in the galaxy in 1 year than we learned in 50 years of guessing," she said excitedly. "And you have given us something even more valuable than knowledge. You have given us proof that different species can work together as friends. Your one-word response to our original demands has become famous among refugee communities throughout this part of the galaxy," Zethkar said with amusement. "Word is spreading about a species that refuses to be bullied and offers partnership instead of slavery. Many desperate beings are beginning to hope again." General Carter's voice came through the communication system. "Maria, we are receiving another distress signal from the edge of our solar system. Our sensors show a damaged vessel with 3 life forms aboard. The ship appears to be genuine refugees, not pirates or con artists." Maria pressed the communication button without hesitation. "Send out the welcome ships, General. Use the standard refugee assistance protocol. Offer help, not demands." Zethkar's crystal form pulsed with what humans had learned was his way of showing happiness. "Do you realize what you have accomplished?" he asked Maria. "Your refusal to be conquered has made Earth a beacon of hope for displaced peoples across the galaxy. You are becoming exactly what we pretended to be, a major power among the stars." "But not through force or theft," Maria corrected. "Through the simple idea that different peoples can work together as equals. We have learned that real strength comes from cooperation, not from making others afraid." Dr. Barnes looked up from her tablet with excitement. "We have received messages from 15 other worlds that heard about our approach through the refugee networks. 5 want to establish trade relationships, 6 are requesting humanitarian aid for their own refugee populations, and 4 are asking for help with technical problems. All because we said no to a tribute demand," Maria mused. "Not just no," Zethkar corrected. "You said no with such complete confidence, such absolute certainty, that it shocked us to our core. We had never encountered a species that met our intimidation not with fear or anger, but with calm determination. You made us question everything we thought we knew about survival. The incoming refugee ship appeared on the observation deck's main display screen, limping slowly toward Earth's protective embrace. Soon there would be another species sharing humanity's vision of galactic cooperation. Another group of minds contributing to the growing alliance of free peoples, Maria said thoughtfully. Maybe we should make this official. Create some kind of formal organization for all these species that want to work together. A real galactic council, but one based on mutual aid instead of tribute and fear. Zethkar's entire body brightened with genuine excitement. A council where each species contributes what it can and takes only what it needs. Where knowledge is shared freely, and no one demands submission from anyone else. Where refugees are welcomed instead of turned away. We will need a name for this organization, Dr. Barnes suggested. Maria smiled as she watched Earth's rescue ships move to escort the approaching refugees to safety. How about the Alliance of Free Worlds? It sounds hopeful and welcoming. Perfect, Zethkar agreed. And to think it all started because humanity's response to our greatest threat was a single, terrifying word. No, Maria repeated softly. Sometimes the simplest answer is the most powerful one. As the refugee ship docked safely with the orbital station, beginning another chapter in humanity's unexpected rise to galactic importance, Maria reflected on how far they had all come. The aliens who had once threatened Earth with destruction were now among humanity's closest friends and advisors. 3 more ships appeared on the long-range sensors, all sending messages of hope rather than demands for tribute. Representatives from worlds that had heard about Earth's approach to galactic relations were coming to see if the stories were true. Within 5 years, the Alliance of Free Worlds included 43 member species spread across 2 spiral arms of the galaxy. The headquarters, built in Earth's orbit, buzzed with activity as delegates from dozens of worlds worked together on projects that benefited everyone. The Alliance's charter was simple and based on humanity's original response to tyranny. Each member world promised to say no to oppression, no to forced tribute, no to the enslavement of any thinking being, and yes to cooperation, yes to mutual aid, and yes to the freedom of all peoples. Maria Santos, now Director General of the Alliance, often walked through the station's corridors and marveled at what they had built. Children of a dozen species played together in the educational centers. Scientists from every imaginable world collaborated on research that helped entire civilizations. Engineers worked on ships that would carry the Alliance's message of hope to the farthest reaches of known space. Zethkar remained her closest advisor and friend. They often met in the memorial garden that honored all the worlds lost to tyranny and disaster. Their traditional greeting had become a shared joke between them. "Any regrets?" he would ask. "None," she would always reply. The galaxy was still a dangerous place, but it was becoming a little bit kinder every day. Every time someone said no to tyranny and yes to cooperation, the darkness retreated a little further. And it had all started with one word spoken with absolute confidence by a species that had never learned how to give up. After all, someone had to be the first to stand up to galactic bullies and offer a better way. It might as well be humanity.